the skies with lasers beamed across downtown. Earlier, the Houston Festival kicked off with dance and music. And we'll have the latest on that failed savings and loan. Some are working overtime this weekend to get the banking institution open on Monday. The news is next.
It doesn't matter where they come from.
They were wearing really funny clothes.
Like they was from Los Angeles.
What they look like.
Stadium concert played before hundreds of thousands of Houstonians. Good evening, everyone. It was truly a Texas-sized festival, from the size of the production to the size of the crowd. Perhaps the biggest event ever staged during a Houston festival. Philip Bruce joins us live from downtown. Philip.
Well, Virginia, everything you said is exactly correct. Jean-Michel Jarre is just now saying farewell to the crowd. We have been told by police that at least 500,000 people turned out for tonight's performance. We have seen fireworks, we have seen laser lights and floodlights. It's been just like the 4th of July. The lights of Houston have never been so bright, and here's how they looked earlier this evening.
Who have come out to see Jean-Michel Jarre, and the cars that are stopped on the highways. I think we can call it quite a success. Well, I think this is a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence. It's the first time Jean-Michel has performed here. It's the first time and probably the only time we'll be able to appreciate our city and the skyline in such a manner, with all the different colored lights, the laser lights, the fireworks that are going off. I think we all, as Houstonians, appreciate our skyline and always look at it in awe, but tonight was a whole different way of looking at our city, and I think it really will make Houstonians proud of this city.
Well, this was a celebration for the sesquicentennial of Texas and the city of Houston, but one special tribute was made here tonight to Ron McNair. He was one of the astronauts who died aboard the Challenger when it exploded. If Ron McNair had been alive, if he had survived that fatal tragedy, he would have been here tonight playing the saxophone. It was just one of the many tributes paid to this area. Virginia?
It was moving and spectacular. Philip, it got a little late start, but other than that, it looked like it came off without a hitch.
It really did, and technologically, this was an incredible show. You know, to have this much electronic gear involved and for it to go so smoothly was really a minor miracle. The lasers and floodlights were more complex, more sophisticated than anything that has ever come through this area. The promoters said early on, this isn't going to be just another rock show, and they lived up to that promise. It cost several $1 million. We don't know how much it cost because they haven't revealed that yet. But I think most of the people here tonight would say it was worth it. Virginia?
Well, I would agree, and I only saw a fraction of it. Thank you, Philip.
Bye-bye.
Of course, the laser show was the highlight of the festival, but the entire Houston Festival is a 10-day affair with many music and dance events scheduled during daylight hours. Sam Saucedo reports on the happenings which went on before tonight's big show.
The festival annually turns the landscapes and downtown spaces on the north side of the central business district into a sort of theater, a theater for a variety of performers.
I've got...
A City in Concert. That's the name given to the biggest event ever in downtown Houston, complete with a laser show for the Houston Festival. Channel 2's Rosa Perez is there now for this live report. Rosa?
Well, Bob, I was never at Woodstock, but I think that if I was there, it might have been like this. There were probably 500,000 people here tonight, and as you said earlier, it was a spectacular event. Jean-Michel Jarre probably hit it on the head best when he had his vision of having lights, lasers, and music. Here's a little bit of what we saw here tonight. What do you think of the show?
Great. It's hot.
It's fantastic. It's the best show I've seen. We saw it at Disney World, but this is better. So they have a chance to see it.
I'm sorry that we didn't bring our children with us. I'm really sorry. It's just fantastic.
Now what do you think?
Well, at first it was sort of boring. Now it's pretty radical. I think he's right. It was radical. They used the entire skyline back here as a backdrop for the entire show. It was just beautiful. Bob, you just had to be here.
Thank you, Rosa. Well, the extravaganza brought traffic to a standstill in the downtown area, a virtual standstill. Cars were bumper to bumper on every major freeway leading into the downtown area long before the event started. Freeways were impassable, and the same is expected when it's all over in a matter of moments. We go now to Charlie Booker with Channel 2 Traffic Control.
Well, we have very heavy traffic leaving the downtown area, as you might expect. North Freeway outbound in the downtown area is very heavy, and inbound traffic on the North Freeway backs up at Patton. The Pierce Elevated over on the Gulf Freeway is jammed solid, and the Gulf Freeway outbound away from downtown is not too heavy at this time, but it is building rapidly. Reporting for Channel 2 News, I'm Charlie Booker.
In a word, if you're looking for relatives to come home from that extravaganza tonight, they will be late. Federal aviation officials are trying to determine the cause of a plane crash tonight in North Texas near Wichita Falls. It happened on the outskirts of Montega, where the twin-engine aircraft crashed into a field.
KTV Houston, #1 in Texas. Eyewitness News with Van Hackett and Melanie Lawson. Tim Melton has sports and Roland Galvan's weather. Now, Channel 13, Eyewitness News tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Houston police are estimating nearly 1 million people are in the downtown area tonight for the spectacular Rendezvous Houston Light and Sound Show. The crowds are causing some problems. People have abandoned their cars along the roads and blocked streets. Police say roads to the emergency entrance at Jefferson Davis Hospital are blocked, and a patient had to be walked 2 blocks to the hospital. Melanie Lawson is in front of the stage where Jean-Michel Jarre performed tonight. Melanie, what's it like there now? It was wild earlier, I know.
Van, wild does not begin to describe it. It is a mob scene, and it has been all night. I don't know if you can even see behind me, but there is literally just a solid mass of humanity out here and has been all night. These numbers, believe it or not, are everywhere. There are people lining Allen Parkway, Memorial Drive. Downtown Houston was just one solid mass of humanity. But despite all the problems, despite the crowds, despite the cloudy weather that they had talked about, this was just an evening not to be believed. It was the most spectacular thing that has ever been seen in our city, and I don't think any of us will ever look at our downtown skyline with the same blasé attitude we had before. It was laser beams, songs, crowds, people, a cast of literally thousands. But this is one of those cases where a picture is definitely worth 1,000 words. So I'll let you see for yourself just how the evening went. centerpiece of all of that, the man that you saw in many of those pictures, is Jean-Michel Jarre. That is the French musician who really put this entire idea together, who came up with the music, the lights, the sound, all the excitement, and treated Houstonians to a view of their city they have literally never seen before. This entire bonanza is estimated at this point to have cost over $3 million and partially funded by Houston Festival. But you cannot begin to put a dollar figure on the kind of excitement that existed down here tonight. Now, there were, as you mentioned, a number of problems, not the least of which was the traffic. And that was particularly true down in the area where Wayne Dolcefino was, down on Allen Parkway and Memorial Drive. He is standing by there now. And, Wayne, just how did it go down there this evening?
Well, Melanie, as you said, if you had a nightmare down there near the stage, it wasn't shop-liver down here along Memorial Drive either. We've had folks lining this route for hours. They got here early this afternoon, set up the blankets, got the beer going, and they were ready for the show. It began, as you know, just a little bit late. And now that the musical extravaganza is over, the traffic nightmare has begun. The cars now making their way down Memorial Drive, and they're making it very slowly. It will take hours to get folks out. For most Houstonians, this was a tribute to their city, but for 26-year-old Craig Torrance, a special night because this is his birthday. 26 years old, and not a bad birthday party.
Not bad at all. I'm here with a bunch of great friends, and Houston is the only city in the world that could put on such a great celebration.
Happy birthday, Craig. Craig, one of a million people who was watching the show tonight, and people were everywhere. They were sitting on blankets, along curbs, on top of cars, on top of vans. They were on top of buildings. Lots of private parties and clubs all over downtown Houston. What did Houstonians think of the show?
Great. Yeah, one of the most fulfilling experiences for me, and I'm very proud to be a Houstonian.
We were up a whole lot closer up front. It didn't look so well, but the further back you are, the better it looked. The clouds are real low. They're getting real low, so it's kind of taken from it.
This sucker is so fine. I can't believe this. This is the greatest thing Houston's ever had to him. I can't believe all this. It must cost millions of dollars. This is great.
But now the problems are traffic, and the traffic nightmare, as I said, is enormous. Seems thousands of people never made it to the show, and many of those simply just abandon their cars along the freeway. Katy Freeway is virtually shut down tonight. The North Freeway is the same. Memorial Drive, as I said, is moving very slowly. Allen Parkway is moving very slowly. Lots of folks are staying put here. The show may be over, but their party will continue for a couple of more hours. But as I said, while we have not had the kind of arrests or problems that we might have anticipated in terms of fire and ambulance, the police and the fire department are asking people who abandon their cars, please get them off the streets because they're having difficult time getting those patients who need to get to the hospitals tonight to those places. Melanie?
Okay, Wayne, it has been an evening of all kinds of excitement, good and bad. And Van Woo will be telling you a little bit more about this later on in the newscast, as well as how the weather affected all of this.
Okay, we understand at one point, Melanie, that the Katy Freeway 5 to 4 lanes backed up to Derry Ashford. What a mess.
Wow.
Yeah. Incredible. Thank you. And later on, coming up, a standoff between a gunman and police in Euless, Texas continues tonight, and officials in South Korea trying to find out what caused a deadly fuel tank explosion. Those are just two of the stories yet to come.
But the clouds were beautiful. They provided just the backdrop we need. So I guess this time around you get a pat on the back, Roland.
Just this time around?
Yeah, just this time around.
Okay, we'll get rid of Melanie for a second. We'll bring her back in a second. We have a lot of thunderstorms to talk about, especially this morning.
There were fewer than 100 athletes. This running of the Area 4 Special Olympics meet attracted more than 1,000. The Meridian Hotel for a final look at the Houston Fest Sound and Light Show. Melanie, a lot of brave folks out there as well.
Well, I tell you, out here the crowds have just about thinned out. You can see the leftover crowd behind me, but for the most part, the crowds have moved on. The problem now, as we mentioned earlier, is traffic. And earlier this evening, Dave Oxendine shot some video from Sky Eye showing traffic on the North Freeway and the Katy Freeway. It is horrendous at this point. Both the Katy Freeway and the North Freeway, very little movement. There was a big accident earlier this evening on the North Freeway. Police suspect it was rubberneckers trying to get a look at the show from the freeway. Right now, police and emergency personnel, police, fire, and ambulances are asking people to get in their cars. A lot of people have left their cars just parked on the freeway, and to get in their cars and get moving as quickly and as safely as possible. We want to remember Rendez-Vous Houston as the best possible event, and therefore they're just asking people to get home, get moving as quickly as possible, but still remain safe. It's been quite an evening, Van. We don't want to end it on a bad note.
No, and they don't want them to stay there till work Monday morning.
No, they don't. They
Okay.
certainly don't.
Thank you, Melanie. That's our news for now. We'll see you again tomorrow evening at 5:30. In the meantime, have a pleasant evening. Good night. Hello, I'm Don Nelson.
And I'm Jan Glenn. And next week, find out your color season.
And
Let's look at that. Those workers who had to clean up after the huge crowds, as Wayne Dolcefino describes.
Sound, laser, and light show Rendez-Vous Houston turned Houston's skyline into a stage. The city's skyscrapers, the actors. And the city turned out. More than 1 million people showed up. A sea of humanity lined bayous and highways to watch the show. But the musical extravaganza turned into a traffic nightmare after the performance. It took hours for some to make it home. Houstonians had abandoned their cars all over the freeways as the fireworks and lasers engulfed downtown Houston.
After the show was over, it took us approximately like 2.5 hours to clear downtown, you know, to get where you could drive down the streets and open up all the barricades.
Amazingly enough, we didn't have any problems. There wasn't any major stores that was vandalized. We didn't have too many traffic accidents, and everything went pretty much accordingly to plan.
This morning, it was obvious there had been a party here, and a big one. Beer bottles and food was everywhere. Some likened the banks of Buffalo Bayou to the streets of New York City after a ticker tape parade. Across from the Meridian Hotel, workers were dismantling the stage, the replica of downtown, and equipment was being loaded up for the trip back home to France. The job of taking Rendez-Vous Houston apart could be finished by Monday morning. It may take a couple of days for the banks of Buffalo Bayou to look the same again. After all, there was a sea of humanity here last night. But Houston's downtown skyline, we may never look at it the same again. Wayne Dolcefino, Eyewitness News, Buffalo Bayou.
the genius behind last night's space-age musical masterpiece is a French musician and composer, Jean-Michel Jarre. He was not well known in this country before last night's show, although he has sold millions of records worldwide and attracted millions of fans at other giant concerts in Paris and China. Tonight, Leslie Brinkley talked with Jarre about his latest multimedia marvel.
It was some enchanted evening.
The downtown skyline was really like a gigantic pinball machine yesterday. Suddenly we were 1 million kids all together, playing with lights and sounds, and it was magnificent. I mean, I enjoyed it a lot.
And so do the million who witnessed this skyline spectacle. They will remember the show. The show's creator will remember them.
What memory specifically will you take with you?
I mean, we remember the Houstonians, first of all, and I've been really moved by the response of the audience. Obviously, the audience have had very good reactions when they saw Texas or Houston on the buildings.
We heard a story that the fire chief attempted to cancel the fireworks, but no one understood English, and it went on.
I mean, I don't know if no one understood English or if no one pretends to understand English.
But the universal language of cowboys and astronauts engaged this city, whose skyline Jean-Michel Jarre still finds inspirational. He will next work his magic on the Statue of Liberty for July 4th ceremonies there. But what's on Jarre's agenda in the meantime?
After what you've done with this, it's all over now.
To sleep.
Leslie Brinkley, Eyewitness News.
Oh, he was something else.
Now I see why you wanted to arm wrestle her to see who did that interview tonight.
Wait, let's talk about that later on. But I have a feeling his is now going to be a household name around Houston. The River Oaks Tennis Tournament turned out a new champion today.
And the Rockets broke a dry spell with a...
Big city, and Moby's a big part of it.
The man is a dream, unbeatable. Well, there you have it. You take special pride in Mrs. Baird's bread when your name is Baird. So generation after generation, day after day, the Bairds take the final responsibility for the quality of Mrs. Baird's bread. Bairds like Byron and Arthur. And
intimidation, his relentless pursuit of terror. He counts